Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Alex. Last time we talked a little bit about the Austrian artist Gustav Klimt, and today we will be finishing the book. So in this episode video, you will see some of Klimt's most famous works, including The Kiss and The Tree of Life. Also, be aware that I pronounce secession wrong in this video, among a lot of other mispronunciations, but I think I say succession because I love the show Succession, but it's not succession, it's secession, and I learned too late. Anyway, enjoy. Oh, here's where we are. The birth of modern art is often described as a revolution against conservative forces and outmoded styles, the old being swept away by avant-garde artists intent on breaking with the status quo. However, even radical movements need their leaders, manifestos and programs, rules and regulations, regular platforms and outlets. One of the most prominent avant-garde organizations of the late 19th century was the Vienna Secession. Founded in the spring of 1897 in opposition to the established Künstlerhaus Association. Gustav Klimt was at the center of these progressive developments in Imperial Vienna as the Secession's first president, serving not only as a figurehead and kind of elder statesman, but also actively determining the direction of the new group. In this period of extraordinary creativity, Gustav Klimt created some of his most significant and stunning works. From the groundbreaking treatment of a classical subject matter in Pallas Athene of 1898, I think that's 69. Must be this one here. To the height of ornamental opulence in the iconic Kiss of 1907-1908. During these years, Klimt was a prominent public figure and, more importantly, executed a number of high-profile commissions for exhibitions, public buildings, and private residences. The decorative tendencies in his art found a powerful response in modern environments specifically designed with his art in mind, culminating in the monumental Beethoven frieze of 1901-1902. The birth of the Secession. As in so many European capitals, the intellectual and artistic climate in fin de siècle Vienna was ripe for revolution. The city had developed in the 19th century into a major metropolis of 2 million inhabitants, with a grandiose, sometimes bombastic architecture fitting for the capital of the sprawling, multicultural Austro-Hungarian Empire. Vienna was not only leading in the rich traditions of music, literature, and the visual arts, but also in science, engineering, medicine, philosophy, psychoanalysis, and psychology, producing 3 generations of exceptional individuals in diverse areas of the arts and science. Sigmund Freud, Adolf Loos, Hugo von Hofmannsthal, Ludwig Wittgenstein, and Egon Schiele. However, it was also a culture in crisis, with increasing nationalism and political radicalism putting considerable strains on the multi-ethnic state. The tension between the retrogressive mid-century historicism and emerging modernism produced a favorable climate for change in which the creative revolution of the Secession flourished. The artistic uprising took the form of youth breaking with the past and proposing a new style and mode of expression commensurate with the realities of the industrial age and modern life in an aspiring metropolis. The ambiguous combination of collective Oedipal revolt and narcissistic search for a new self, as Karl Schorsky phrased it. For the Secession, nothing less than a radical historical departure would suffice in engineering a new dawn through the regenerating force of art. The Secession's first exhibition was a powerful statement on 2 levels. Firstly, an introduction of the latest tendencies in European modern art to the Viennese public, and secondly, a presentation reflecting the avant-garde spirit of the art shown in environments specially designed for the architects and designers Joseph Maria Ulbricht and Joseph Hoffman, with the assistance of a decoration committee. The exhibition brought together for the first time a cross-section of internationally leading painters and sculptors, including Arnold Böcklin, Pierre Puvis de Chavannes, Walter Crane, and Ferdinand Knopf, Max Liebermann, Constantin Meunier, Alphonse Mucha, Auguste Renoir, Auguste Rodin, John Singer Sargent, Giovanni Segantini, Franz von Stuck, and James Abbott McNeill Whistler. While assembling some of the biggest names in painting and sculpture of the time, it significantly was also a group that reflected the prevalent taste in Vienna for a weighty symbolism, the Art Nouveau style, and Proto-Expressionism, rather than the latest examples of French Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. Here we have a poster for the first Secession exhibition. Here's the Secession building in Vienna, 1898 image. Klimt's paintings continue to feature classical goddesses that, however, increasingly abandon their static postures and come alive, assuming the shocking contemporary appearance of ordinary, vulnerable human figures. Here's another Secession poster. Klimt's trajectory from accomplished historicist painter to a member of one of the most avant-garde movements in Europe can be traced through the most extensive commission he ever received, the series of monumental murals for the Great Hall of the University of Vienna, located in the prestigious Ringstrasse with its many grand buildings. Klimt and his artist friend and long-term collaborator, Franz Mach, jointly received this important public assignment in 1894. 11 years later, and after a series of scandals and vicious attacks, Klimt resigned from the commission in 1905, though the paintings were to preoccupy him until their completion in 1907. Rather than fashioning distant paraphrases based on the exhausted iconography of classical mythology, Klimt conceivably evoked in the faculty paintings the merciless cycle of birth, life, and death, human misery through disease, war, and injustice, and fundamental moral conflicts. Greek and Roman gods and goddesses, as well as the allegorical representations of abstract concepts such as hope and justice, still figure in his art, but his gods have descended from Mount Olympus and have taken on human form, with all the frailties and blemishes of contemporary beings. His other innovative device is the empty, almost unstructured field that frames the human figure in an indeterminate space of existential emptiness and hopelessness. This is Beethoven frieze Gorgon. So here's Max Klinger's Beethoven statue at the 14th Secession exhibition, 1902. Here's the Klimt room at the 14th Secession exhibition, also from 1902. Another Klimt room. Here's an Egon Schiele painting. One of Klimt's contemporaries. I believe significantly younger, though. If they even were active at the same time. This book has a lot of information. Here's The Kiss from 1907. birth and triumph of the secession coincided with the evolution of the artist Gustav Klimt, who was both progenitor and midwife to the most significant period in Austrian art of the 20th century. As a member of a community of kindred spirits and propelled by the exhilaration that came with the artistic insurgence against the old and outdated, he liberated himself from the chains of historicism and a naturalistic style. In the final years of the 19th and first decade of the 20th century, Klimt achieved a unique blend of dark symbolism, human allegory, expressive realism, and Jugendstil ornamentation, which resulted in a substantial body of highly moving and intensely ornate paintings, at the center of which stood the female figure. This could be Klimt's most famous work. We see some of what they've been talking about here, of this, like, these sections that just dissolve into design and ornamentation, and then these kind of realistic figures embedded in the middle. Here's Water Snakes 1. Klimt succeeded in transforming extreme stylization and artifice into meaningful and deeply symbolic mode of visual expression. Ornament, like abstraction, becomes a direct mode of representation, conveying meaning through material form and expressive color, a living metaphor of creation, growth, exaltation, and death. Klimt's paintings seduce with rich visual delights and an overload of aesthetic pleasures, while they simultaneously disturb with subtle hints at psychological secrets, moral ambiguities, and the debilitating effects of widespread disease of nervousness and neurotic oversensitivity. Yeah, that's a really, I think, a nice description of Klimt's work. And it makes sense when you're thinking about that era in Vienna of this, like, increasing internalizing of thought and, you know, looking inward and reflecting on the psyche. This is disturbing. Here's Klimt in his studio. I think this one is so cool. Athena. Like, from 1898. Isn't that beautiful? I wonder how he did the gold. If it was like gold leaf or fool's gold or something. This one with this interesting composition. It's kind of like askew. Then we have this knight and these two ladies. It reminds me a little bit of a couple things. I guess, you know, graphic novels. I don't know why, but famous science fiction artists. And it reminds me of some of the illuminated manuscripts we looked at in the Louvre book. That's the unfortunate thing about Klimt, is that I'm not sure how much I can show, because there is a lot of nudity. Okay, so 129. This is medicine. But geez, incredible detail here. These figures are always kind of distorted. The Golden Knight. Life is a battle. Here's the kiss again. You can see some of the detail on the edge of the painting with these sort of gold tendrils. This like kind of meadow cliff. Amazing. I'd love to see that one in person. I don't think I ever have. Here's a close-up shot of a painting. A bunch of dudes. The stoclet frieze. Oh, so these are drawings. That's neat. So it sounds like Klimt was commissioned to do this frieze and chose the Tree of Life. In the Louvre videos, we looked at a painting by Bosch, and he featured the Tree of Life in that painting. It says, Klimt chose for his frieze one of the oldest motifs, humankind's yearning for paradise. Rising up each of the two long walls of the frieze is a golden tree of life, whose volute-shaped boughs scroll outward above a colorful meadow of flowers to fill the entire mural field. Black Horus falcons are perched on some of the branches. Together with two rose bushes surrounded by fluttering butterflies, the flowering meadow and the tree of life create an artificial garden. At the north end of the dining room, the knight, a powerful abstract figure in a portrait format mosaic, seems to watch over the scene, while a dancing girl adorned in a lavishly ornamented dress and the finest jewelry stands in the flowering meadow in front of the Tree of Life on the west wall, near the south-facing bay windows. So here's the home where the mural appeared. Is it a home or another building? A house to showcase the extensive art collection of its owners. Okay. We have some drawings, some more drawings for the frieze. Interior image. It's a really pretty building. The architectural historian Eduard F. Sackler, who considers the long walls of the dining room to show a garden of pleasure and love with divine Horus falcons, recognized the importance of the portrait of the knight for deciphering Klimt's artistic program on the basis of its architectural setting on the end wall. Through its position in a shallow, doubly recessed niche, the feeling is inevitably aroused of finding oneself in a zone of transition between two worlds, as in the case of a fake door in an Egyptian mastaba, or the niches of ancient Mesopotamian sacred buildings. Main hall. It's beautiful. There's more images and drawings of the Palais Stoclet, or Stoclet. Really neat building. So here are some of the pieces that Klimt produced for the space. Mosaic frieze, Carrara marble, gold and silver mosaic, colored mosaic pieces, ceramic, enamel, mother of pearl, paste gems, semi-precious stones, chased gilded and silvered sheet copper and brass, sheet brass, brass tubing, and gold leaf. Oh, so we did use gold leaf for the metallic, in part. Wow, these are beautiful. There's the whole frieze, or a portion of it. The Eye of Horus kind of popping up. What do they call these? The Eye of Horus is here. She kind of just like blends into the background like camouflage. This detail we can see kind of the variation in shimmer on the mosaic. Can't imagine how it might shine in person. Oh, there's a picture from 1914 or 1913. Here's the detail with the falcon. Small design for the dancing girl, rosebush and knight. And here's the end product. Wow. The photographs in this book are beautiful. Look at the detail we can see in this. The depth. Some close-ups of the garden. There's the tree of life. The lovers. Another close-up of all the little details. There's little butterflies. The family not executed. Okay, so this was never actually made. I like that he worked in pencil and watercolor for sketches. That's interesting. I love seeing process stuff. More details here. Here's another piece. Everything it seems so purposeful, and I don't know if you can classify Klimt as, you know, an Art Nouveau artist or an expressionist artist, but that's something I've noticed in Art Nouveau, especially Art Nouveau style interior design. It's like the art is so central to the home, and it's also perfectly placed. Like this little nook fits it exactly. It's not just stuck on the wall, you know. Postcard. A lot going on in this postcard. I wonder how he collected all these materials to make this mosaic. Here's another exterior of the palais. Really neat. I don't know how I feel about this quote, but it says, "He let them rigidify to a certain extent and almost turn them into artificial pieces of jewelry, just as if, amongst nothing but jewels, they had been transformed and forged into jewels themselves." These are being paintings of Judith, I guess. The portrait of the Viennese lady has here witnessed a new character or a new stylization for the first time since Macart, as indeed Vienna is now seeing for the first time since that great individual the triumphant rise of a painter before whom it must yield, wrote the art critic Ludwig Hevesi on the 21st of November 1903. Speaking about Klimt. Some of his early portraits of women. Study for the painting Judith. Portrait of Helene Klimt. It's a really nice portrait. Sonia Knips in a reform dress designed by Eduard Joseph Wimmer Viesgrill, I think. Portrait of Margaret Stoneborough Wittgenstein. So this is a painting of Emily Floge, I don't know. And this is a portrait of the same woman. This talks about the Judith painting that he did. We might talk about them one day, but Judith and Holofernes is like a commonly painted scene. So this is a pretty famous piece of Klimt's, I think. Portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer the first, or one. Yeah, I guess it would just be one because women don't usually use Roman numerals. Klimt evidently used different means of representation to distinguish between women bound within ornament and within their social constraints, and a child still free from such constraints. Oh, that's interesting. This manifests itself in a particular fashion in the portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer. 2. Klimt has here once again chosen a portrait format with dimensions of 190 by 120 centimeters. The subject is wearing a high-necked pale dress that starts directly beneath her wide choker, which is this time composed not of gold and precious stones, but of fine chains or small pearls. It is impossible to identify them precisely. She's kind of constrained by the scene and by her clothes. Caricature of this painting here. Pretty. Oh, this painting hung. This might have been one of his mistresses. It almost reminds me of Sargent a little bit. Okay. I really like this quote. It's kind of weird, but I think it's an interesting comment. Just looking at this painting, it says, "The brush itself, we are led to think, must have been in love." I think that's nice. I mean, I don't know any of the backstory, so it could be very not nice. So here's more of Judith. I like these photos of the paintings in the homes of the patrons. I think that's cool. It's just interesting to see the real person and then Klimt's interpretation. That's interesting. But yeah, there's the full extent. That one's so pretty. It has these little eyes, like Nazar or Eye of Horus. She's just absolutely covered in gold. Oil and gold leaf on canvas. Oh, that's a cool one. Death and life. So neat how they did those. So there's the older woman with her younger portrait, I think. You'll notice with all of these is there's just not that much space between the figure and the background. Which is an intentional choice, I think. Yeah, I mean, we probably should acknowledge this is from the obituary of Klimt. But he, like many artists, is very inspired by Japanese, Chinese, Byzantine, and other forms of art, other periods of art. The woman has a very interesting face. I really like the unfinished stuff. I don't know why, I really do like it. Oh my. Here's Klimt with Emily. Oh, this book is so dense. If you guys want me to go through landscapes, let me know, but just in the interest of time, we'll skip to the last chapter. Oh, some drawings, yes. This is cool. This makes me think he was scaling it for a mural or a larger piece. In his drawings, Gustav Klimt treated his subject matter in myriad ways. His intensive study of the human, primarily the female, figure centered on the individual. Landscape sketches, most of which have been lost, presumably destroyed by fire. Genre scenes, animal and nature motifs are marginal phenomena in his oeuvre. The most important tools Klimt used for his drawings were, first and foremost, black chalk, followed by pencil and often also colored pencils. Oh, this is the drawing for the Shakespeare mural. That's cool. That's pretty cool. Oh, self-portrait of Klimt in a neck ruff on the right-hand side. Oh, so maybe this was him. Put himself inside there. The transfer sketch. Okay, yeah. So this was for, I guess, making it larger. It's an incredible drawing. Oh my god. It's really amazing. This is a pretty famous painting. A sketch for the famous painting. This really neat, expressive. It's such a wonderful mix, right? Like this incredible fine realism, and then this expressive, moving style. Even in the drawings, you know, the mood is already established. And yeah, it becomes more ornate and complete in a painting, but the bones are, with just a few brush strokes or pencil strokes, are just already established, you know. Oh my. And these are some of his paintings of society ladies, which seems to be the work of many painters throughout history. the body, the core of their commission work. It's like the, you know, Instagram. But even these have such interesting compositions, like cutting their head off there. These geometric shapes. I really liked this outfit that we've seen him in a couple times. Kamubu. Here's our timeline of Klimt's life. This is a painting. Oh, okay, so they were contemporaries. This is a painting of Klimt by Schiele. They're often compared to one another. Why would she? That's grim. And here's his studio. That's really neat. God, it's so clean. Oh, here we have some ads. Here's a Bosch painting. Da Vinci. Oh my God, just incredible. I know this isn't a video about Da Vinci, but look at that drawing, my God. There's a falcon. Thank you so much for hanging out with me as we look through this book about Gustav Klimt. As always, if you have any requests, let me know. I'll see you next time.